Hello and welcome, ladies and we are playing Chronotopia second skin. That's right, we've sort of ended with getting the achievement of doing a good job with a task. And by that I mean Kionna did a good job. Let's see what's gonna happen next. I'm not doing too bad for the first time. Naturally it will be much more difficult the day I become queen, but I will at least have a decent record. I dare not imagine the pressure I would have had if I had been entrusted with the kingdom's reins without the slightest training. Satisfied, she closed her small notebook and looked up. I hope that you are watching me from up there and that you are proud of me. There is a bee flying. I have not noticed a bee before. One day she was sitting, there are two bees, on the patio, her favorite place, pondering if she should create a few embroideries to keep herself busy. A singular event happened. Loud voice came out of the garden. She believed it was a quarrel and moved closer. She found her lady waiting in the middle of a discussion with a young man she had never seen before. I'm sorry, sir, but we don't need anything at the moment. Oh, but you got the right. I'll knock on the door. Have a safe journey. As the nymph was walking away, the heralds rushed to question the stranger, as she did not want to waste such a rare opportunity. About what? After reducing the distance between them, she noticed that he was laden with objects of all kinds. Pardon me, are you a merchant? Absolutely, ma'am. Do you need anything? I've in my saddlebag what is needed to thread, needles, ribbons, laces. As for my sack, it contains all the tools you would need in your everyday life and even some handkerchiefs, shawls, and pieces of jewelry to offer. You must be quite tired with walking with all those goods on your back. Oh, this is part of the job. I travel about 20 kilometers a day, so I'm used to it. Besides, I also coat my feet with powder quite regularly. Impressive. Do you sell that powder too? Not my personal stock directly. That would not be proper, but I have in my jacket a number of remedies. Here I have a wonderful herbal tea that cures cough problems rather well, and here a plant with very special properties. But you'd not see Mary yet, so I'm not sure if it would be of any use to you for now. The princess closely blinked for a few seconds before moving on. You can do everything. It would be quite considerate of me to claim so. A peddler like me has the duty of presenting a wide variety of products to satisfy their customers' needs. Is that all? I also offer immaterial goods. Indeed, I spread the news from surrounding villages. If you have exciting stories to tell me, it would be my pleasure to divulge them. Oh no. Please don't do anything stupid, girl. Unfortunately, I have nothing to tell you. He examined the vicinity with a preoccupied face. If my objects are of no interest to you, ma'am, I'll have to leave. I've worked for a long time to reach your mansion, and if I don't set off soon, I would have sold nothing today. Buy something from him, come on! The man pretended to walk away, and Kionna internally panicked. It was the first time since her arrival that she had such a long discussion with someone, and this merchant seemed to know so many interesting things. It would have been a huge waste to let him leave. Wait! He turned all smiles. Yes, ma'am? If I were to buy some items and for a drink, would you accept to stay with me for a little longer? Huh? She looked so genuinely afflicted that the stranger was astounded. I'm not the type to deny a fair baited a favor. Her eyes lit up in a quite a moving manner. Instantly, people call me Georgis. I'm Kionna. The merchant, meet Georgis. Pleased to meet you, Kionna. You own quite a lovely name. Oh boy, where is this going, right? The princess led Georgis in the palace and begged the retainers to allow her to buy a few small things. He was watching the scene with an amused look. His interlocutor was visibly the lady of the house. He could guess it based on her rich attire and her way of speaking, but she seemed utterly inexperienced and lost. Could she be a new bride? But she does not wear any ring. Here are florins. Now tell me everything you know, Georgies.
Vast topic. What would you like to know? I've heard tales of all sorts of during my travels. Are you the kind of person who likes terrifying crimes involving monsters or disasters, tragic stories, or something more light-hearted?
I'm not sure to be thrill-seeker, and I'm certainly not superstitious.
No blood-curdling story then.
Aside from that, everything sounds interesting.
Let us start with the tragic story then. For hours,
Georgie showed talent in... What was that? No? I thought I should click there. For hours, Georgie showed talent in narrating unfortunate love, family revenges, and murders, each one more incredible and stirring than the last. So much so the young woman ended up in tears. She was especially affected by the story of a young woman who had been possessed by a married man without her consent. What? The wrong spouse had sought revenge and had tormented her in 1,000 different ways. Shh. Poor girl, what happened to her is awful.
Please take this handkerchief, Mom. I cannot bear to see you in such a state.
It is nothing, I just could not help empathizing. The hawker glanced at the son, which was about said.
I'm afraid that is going to be all for today, Mom. It's getting late and I cannot stay.
Oh no, not already.
Instinctively, Kionna pouted, reverting to tearful eyes at the same time.
Will you come back to see me?
I would not forgive myself for making such a sweet maiden sad. I swear to come to the Clermont's domain as often as I can.
The princess briefly regained her composure, even though she was firmly convinced that those were hollow words. Once the merchant had disappeared on the other side of the walls, the mask of cheerfulness gradually faded away, making way for melancholia. I doubt you will be back. After all, that man is a peddler. He would have no interest in keeping me company. Well. Yet, much to her surprise, Georges kept his promise. A few days later, he was standing on the doorstep and greeted her in the most natural way possible.
I made a commitment to coming back to visit you, so here I am.
Heavens, I did not expect that.
Me? Abandoning such a charming young lady? That would be a criminal. I am a man who keeps his word.
Thrilled, Kionna invited him to sit next to her as he did previously. Her guest gladly accepted a cold drink given that it was very hot that day. He pondered for a while as he was sipping his lemonade. Then, after what seemed like an eternity, he put the glass down with a straight face.
Forgive me if my question is misplaced, but I was wondering, why do you look so sad?
Well. The heiress was so lonely in the Clermont house that she could not help confessing all of her misfortunes. How she had escaped from her father's castle, how she had met Lord Tully, and how she was now shut away and struggled to keep herself busy or simply approach the servants despite all of her attempts.
What a misfortunes! You've been very modest by claiming not to have an exciting story for me. Your father's madness and your escape only make quite an unusual one. You are a true fairy tale princess.
Perhaps I was born under an unlucky star.
At least you are safe now. I cannot fathom how Prince Tony can neglect a person as brave as you like that.
Well, it's not his fault. He's so busy because of his kingdom's affairs. I cannot possibly complain about the kindness he has shown me so far.
It is commendable if you consider what he might be feeling, but you deserve the same consideration. Are you scared of him?
Scared? No. He's far too kind.
In that case, do not hesitate to tell him about your concerns. You will certainly find a solution together.
You think so?
Of course. By your own admission, you did not feel right here. Do you really think that keeping your bitterness secret will improve the situation? You will only become increasingly unhappy, and it's going to poison your relationship little by little until it explodes.
Will he not find me selfish for wanting more?
If he is the good man you are describing, he will be mindful of your well-being. Otherwise, you will be definitely informed, and you will know to adapt your behavior accordingly.
Thank you for your advice, Georges.
It is a very small price to pay to bring a smile back to your face. Upon staring at him, the princess thought that behind him, somewhat flamboyant and seductive character, he was an honest and considerate person. From that moment, the peddler became both her only friend and her confidant. Always faithful to his promise, he would regularly come to visit her and help her pass the time in good company. In fact, between their conversations and the occasional visit from the prince, life was not so sad anymore. Nevertheless, Georges could not replace the one who was on her mind all the time. Talia would incidentally drop multiple veiled references when he was present.
Just giving me notice of the arrival, my lord. I've just woken up and have not had the time to take a bath yet. I cannot welcome you while being dirty and in my dressing gown.
I do not mind. I'm out of breath and covered with sweat myself. Why not go wash ourselves together?
The offer seemed incongruous to her.
Paul does rarely makes for obvious reasons, and she did not want to compromise herself like that.
My lord, I cannot reasonably accept to show myself naked in front of a man before marriage.
Ooh, even if it was only once?
Only once or 100 times, it does not matter. Undressing in front of you is unthinkable if our destinies do not become one through the sacred bond.
You know what? I respect that. Talia answered nothing and left the room. But at the same time, yeah. Once he was in the hallway, he mumbled between his teeth. How cruel of you.
Yeah?
This altercation remained etched in the princess' memory for a very long time. She confided it in Georges several days later. With due respect, you do not seem used to the language of love, Lady Kionna.
I cannot deny it. I'm still a virgin, and I've always been left out of things of that kind. What about you, Georges? Do you have experience?
Well, on my travels I've met various unique women, each one more beautiful than the last. I too have the unfortunate tendency to build numerous short-lived relationships.
Could it be that you are a Don Juan?
You could say that, yeah, but my goal is not to collect conquests to feel a narcissistic call of sorts inside me, or God knows what. It's just very easy to win my heart. If the contact between me and the lovely maiden is particularly good, I would be wrong to refuse such a precious moment.
Precious?
Well, yeah, after all, she's rewarding me with her trust. If the lady holds me in such a high esteem, I cannot leave her before she's entirely satisfied. Kionna blushed at this mention. Talking about this topic remained awfully embarrassing.
Let's return to my issue. According to you, why does the prince so obstinately avoid evoking marriage? He always finds a good pretext to run away each time I make the slightest allusion.
It is quite simple. He wants to go further, but he is not ready to marry you yet.
Alas, my fears are confirmed then. But I'm a princess. I would be a disgrace to give myself to a man without being engaged beforehand.
That is exactly why he is hiding his true intents. I would bet my life that he's only talking in innuendos so that he can deny everything if you were to force him to explain himself. He's trying to ascertain whether it is possible to have a sexual relationship with you, and thus shroud himself in mysteries in order to cover his back in the event of a refusal, which seems to be your answer.
Oh, I do not know. I very much like Lord Tali, and I would not have any objection to respond favorably to his request were I guaranteed to marry him, but I cannot rid myself of my only asset. What is going to happen if I accept this proposition? He could very well unceremoniously repudiate me, should he get bored.
I unfortunately cannot help you, Kionna. It is quite simply a gamble. Do you trust his man?
I do not know.
There is no need to hurry. You are the one to decide what you want to do with your body. It is need to lose patience. You will know to be wary of him.
I will give it some thought.
To console her, he told her light-hearted stories of virtue and vice. Although she did not really identify with the description of cuckolds and unfaithful wives, it still gave her the impression of being less ignorant of what belongs to love. The young Moor was quite embarrassed by the convoluted nature of her situation. Since she had only been acquainted with the prince for a short time, and her feelings having been betrayed by Grizel during the previous timeline, she was hesitant to fulfill his request.
What will become of me?
Don't ask me. She stayed chained to a whirlwind of tergiversations for the longest time, not knowing what to do, until a revelation turned her convictions upside down.
Kionna, my girl, what are you doing? You've been confined in this house with a hybrid status for several months now, and nothing is changing. Granting Tali's wish is admittedly risky, but it is a golden opportunity to shake the stagnation that is saving us. I should be the one to take the chance and prove to my lover that I am worthy of being his future wife.
Her decision was to made. It was all or nothing.
All or nothing, a gamble.
Sometime later, the monarch came to rest in Kermon's domain. After a rather pleasant day, Tali excused himself and announced he would be returning to the castle once supper was over. Kionna then faced her invitations and risked it all.
Already, my lord, I'm quite chagrined here. I was hoping I could enjoy your company a little more. Would you not stay the night for me?
I'm just as bothered as you are, my lady, but urgent matter await me. Overcoming her discomfort, she spoke in a smoother tone.
Ooh, what can I do to convince you? Would you sleep with me tonight?
The sovereign's jaw dropped. He was visibly not expecting such an offer.
I've been denying you my body for a long time, my lord, but tonight I'm ready to change my mind.
That is all it took for a certain emotion to overcome the young man. He called out to a valet while stuttering. Immediately forward, a message to castle to let them know that I'm detained one more day due to weariness. And then all smiles, he turned to the princess to kiss her hand.
After you, my lady.
Please tell me we are not getting into the details of all of that. Despite her audacious speech, the situation remained awfully embarrassing for the young princess, who absolutely did not know what to do. As she was getting ready, she could not help sighing.
If only I'd been taught about how these things work, I feel quite foolish. Are you ready?
Are you ready, my dear? The sovereign, who was waiting on the other side of the door, was starting to get impatient, which added to her apprehension. With a pounding heart, she let him in. They sat down on both sides of the bed without daring to make eye contact. Kionna tapped into her last ounce of strength to speak.
My lord, what am I gonna do? Is it no way insignificant? I agree to consummate our relationship outside of marriage, provided you keep similar obligations toward me.
It goes without saying, my lady.
For this reason, I expect protection and affection from you. I leave it to your morality.
She was about to continue when he put a finger on her lips. You will have no cause for complaint with me, my lady. I can assure you of that. She looked him in the eye, seeking some comfort. The certainty that she was making the right decision. She only saw the ardor of a man exhilarated by desire. That is when he leaned forward to kiss her, and she became unable to think about anything else. Kionna spent her first night with the prince, Tali. Afterwards, busy as she was sorting her thoughts, she had trouble closing her eyes and only fell into the arms of Morpheus much later in the night. No, archives. Sun, Moon, and Talia. It is again in the Tale of the Tales, or Pentamerone, from Giambattista Basile, 1634-1636, that you can find one of the first written versions of Sleeping Beauty. Nice. In Sun, Moon, Talia, Sole Lune Italia in Italian, a king and a queen give birth to a beautiful princess named Talia. Unfortunately, savants deduce from her horoscope that a great misfortune will befall her because of a splinter of flax
Flux is thus banned from the country for her safety. It does not prevent her from touching the distaff of an old wyverness once she has become an adult, and falling into a deep sleep from which she does not seem to wake up as a result. As life in the kingdom goes on, the king simply moves his daughter's body in a castle he owns in the countryside and tries to forget her demise. It is not until years later that a young prince who has gone hunting comes across the mysterious castle and begins to explore it. Upon catching sight of Talia, he is taken by her beauty, carries her on a bed, and decides to overstep her consent by... guess what? Just like Sandman. If you understood what I mean with the Sandman, you know. After this very romantic gesture, he returns to his palace and moves on. The young girl gets pregnant and gives birth to twins during her sleep. What? Two fairies appear to take care of them, and it is the newborn babies who, trying to suckle, wake her up by taking a splinter out of her finger. To her great surprise, she finds herself alone with the two children, without knowing who is bringing her food and how. But as he has not entirely forgotten about her, the prince comes back to see what has become of her and fortuitously learns about her awakening. He explains to her what happened and stays with his new family for some time. Overjoyed, unfortunately, other matters await him, and he cannot eternally stay, but he swears that he will come back as soon as possible. Is this what's going to happen here? Are you serious? Indeed, Tali woke up way before her. Well rested, he leapt out of bed to dress, and it was the faint rustle of clothes that slowly got her out of her torpor. When she laboriously opened her eyes, he was already about to leave.
Lord, your company fills me with happiness. Why not stay longer? Do you have to go already?
I'm very sorry about that, my lady, but I cannot delay my return anymore. I stayed last night to please you. Is that not well enough?
She could not answer, and he noticed her uneasiness.
Come on now, do not look so glum. I will be by your side again very soon, I promise you.
He laid a kiss on her lips and hurried to climb into his carriage, leaving her naked and chagrined.
Oh boy.
He so used you. Since that bittersweet night, Tali would come far more often to the domain of Clermont.
Oh!
Yet Kionna struggled to rejoice. Even if her heart was elated to see him, she was also noticing that all of his visits would end with the intercourse, and she did not have the luxury to refuse, as he kept pressing her so much with pretty speeches. Troubled, she confided in Georges.
How's that he manages to do the thing so much? He seems exhausted and out of breath each time. I do not understand.
But it's not the case for you.
No, I do not feel anything special. I simply wait for him to finish, which has the merit of being short, should I?
Ma'am, such is the unchanging problem of the fair sex. Some think that all men are the true gentlemen. Although very charming, this sad case does not seem to pay the slightest attention to your body's needs.
What do you mean?
Oh boy.
Everyone possesses a tiny piece of flesh that is extremely sensitive, above where well of love.
You know, we can't talk about it here. This is YouTube.
Really? Why did someone not teach me this before?
Try to bring up the topic of grade subtly in order to not scare him. Some lovers have a very fragile ego, but not know that you deserve to feel the same delights you give him. It is not natural for the pleasure to be mutual.
You're probably playing when his boundless enthusiasm is not really shared. I'll try to rectify this.
Bear in mind that you have the right to refuse if you do not feel like doing it. It may be reasonable to postpone to a later date than having an unpleasant time, especially as something as intimate should never be so.
I'm glad I crossed the path of men such as you. Georges, no one else would have explained all those things to me.
Since carnal pleasure is taboo, this opens door to all sorts of abuses. I think it is far more healthy to discuss it in a constructive manner than hiding the truth.
Yeah, he's right about that. Kionna followed the guidance provided by her friend and set out to explore her body in order to better understand its functioning. Let's not talk about it. Once the mystery was solved, she summoned the courage to ask Prince Tali to better take care of her, arguing that it would only be better for the both of them.
He acquiesced almost reluctantly and started to provide the most basic stuff. Once again, she shared her doubts with Georgie's. Yeah, that prince is trash, turns out as well.
Well done, Lady Kionna. Has the situation improved?
In a sense, Toast has agreed, but he always gives up halfway through the process, so I never had time to finish.
Oh, that is not proper of him.
Our relations are far more pleasant because I finally feel something, but I also feel the frustration growing. I'm afraid that your advice turned against me.
Oh, my apologies. I merely wanted your help.
That is not your fault.
Georgie's paused for a moment. Just go out with Georgie's, come on.
With your permission, I've always thought that the intimacy that we develop during intercourse revealed the true nature of a partner.
What are you trying to tell me?
Well, someone who seems highly respectable can show their true colors once stripped of all the clothing. In this instance, I feel that your beloved is either indolent or cares very little.
I'm decidedly unlucky.
Yep. The accommodating ardors of Tony lasted for weeks and months, to Kionna's utter despair, as she had hoped to change her daily life more deeply than that. She could not deny not being as bored thanks to the increased presence of her lover, but the promise of marriage still was not coming. She sighed.
What is the point? Although we occasionally sleep in the same bed, he never stays in it very long.
If truth be told, the monarch had even started to devise a strategy that she did not like at all. Instead of remaining by her side all night, he was now finding a way to sleep with her right before dinner, so that he could gobble his meal and jump into the carriage shortly after. I wonder how many other mansions he has women in, by the way. I would not be surprised if that was the case.
This is not a conduct befitting of a prince. I'm not asking for him to give up everything for me, but only take his time and show me some affection.
The feelings she had harbored for the young man had gradually eroded, and she was beginning to question her decision.
Have I made the right choice by putting my trust in him? Tali does not have Grisel's choleric temperament. I know he will do me no harm, but he always seems so detached, so elusive. I never know what he thinks or what he wants. Who am I to him?
The answer was quick in coming. A few months after the start of their carnal relationship, Kionna noticed that her abdomen had become very much swollen, and it had been a while since her last bleeding. There could be no doubt she was pregnant. Overjoyed, she thought that all her problems were solved.
This time, I'm sure of it, Tali will agree to marry me. He has to take responsibility for impregnating me, and I believe he's a man of his word.
Thus she waited for the upcoming visit of her lover to tell him the good news.
My lord, I have something very important to tell you.
I'm listening. What's happening?
I think I'm carrying your child.
The prince contorted himself at once as a result of surprise. His jaw and eyes wide open, he stared at her with stupefaction for several long and quiet minutes. When he finally pulled himself together, his face looked radiant. Never had the young Moor seen his eyes shine so much before. She laughed at his reaction.
Are you happy, my lord?
If I'm happy? My lord, this is incredible news you are announcing. I'm elated. Since how long have you been hiding this from me?
I've just received confirmation.
From where? In the case, the surprise worked. May I touch?
Of course.
He instantly got down on his knees to caress Kionna's belly and pressed his ear against it. Oh, you're right. I think I heard something. Tali got back on his feet and took her in his arms, ecstatic. I'll first seeing if the baby will be a boy or girl. Naturally, a boy would be more desirable to carry on the lineage.
Allow me to interrupt for a second, my lord, but what will become of me?
Oh, I beg your pardon, my dear.
Now that I'm carrying your child, are you going to marry me? You know that the status of concubine is unfavorably looked on. I want nothing more but making our union official.
The prince's smile abruptly faded. So cheerful a few seconds ago, he became anxious and she prepared for the worst. Sadly, I cannot grant your request.
But why? Am I not good enough for you?
This is not a problem. You see, I've not been completely honest with you when you brought up this question for the first time.
What do you mean?
He's already... Holy crap! Weinstein reached into his pocket and took out a ring that he placed on his finger.
Damn.
I thought he has someone. I did not expect that. In reality, I'm already married. A wife was chosen for me when I was still a child, and we walked to the altar several years before I even met you. Kionna faltered.
It cannot be.
This is unfortunately the truth. Had I known you earlier, I would not have hesitated, but I cannot divorce my wife, and I certainly do not have the courage to have her murdered.
But then, what am I to you?
Obvious discomfort, says the monarch. My mistress, if it suits you. Have I not kept all of my promises thus far? You have property, retainers, access to food and clothing. I even come to visit so that you would not feel lonely. It only depends on you that this happiness continue.
So I can only live hidden away? It seems to me that the concubines are girls that would usually be scandalous to marry, yet I am not of low status.
Confronted with the young woman's increasing dissatisfaction, Tali tried to look reassuring. I'm well aware that the situation is not ideal, but take that as a long-term gamble. If my wife dies, or if circumstances are in your favor, you will take her place. After giving her a kiss on the forehead, he sped away so that he would not have to face her wrath. This cowardly strategy, to say the least, only increased the exasperation that his revelation had triggered. Kionna stayed on the patio long after he left, her fists clenched. She necessarily felt betrayed. She had pinned all of her hopes on the fact she would wed the prince, and he had let her believe so with the sole purpose of obtaining favors from her.
From the very beginning, marriage was impossible, and not tell me, even worse, he encouraged me to have illusions. What kind of man has the audacity to conceal his wedding ring? It is disrespectful of the one who shares his life, and extremely deceptive.
To be honest, I'm surprised you wouldn't find out from, like, people working in the mansion. They would know. She was so furious at having been mocked that she brooded for hours. Her princess pride cut to the quick.
What makes me sick is that there is nothing I can do. If my body still belonged to me, I could run away and go find another lord, but that is no longer true. With this unborn child, I am doomed to remain his concubine until my death or the death of his wife. And is it not stooping quite low to desire the misfortune of a person I do not even know and who did nothing to me?
Yeah. Once she had calmed down, Kionna traversed the house to reach her apartment. On her way, she noticed that the retainers, usually so cold and distant, were staring at her with a smirk on their faces, which is understandable. Whispers could be heard on either side of the room, filling the air with an unbearable buzzing.
Did you see that? Tali told her the truth. That stupid girl thought she had a chance. So sheesh. Did you see how her high and mighty are crumpled? That this heart of things is superior.
Humiliated, mortified, the young woman valiantly tried to save face with every step, until the final blow was dealt, crushing her last resistance in the process.
Princess not deserve the same treatment as the others. The others? Of course, it's not necessarily believe that Lord Tali had stopped at one mistress. He has several of them.
I knew it.
And he's keeping them all in that way. Only those he deems worth the effort. He goes to brothels during his trips to town and sometimes also gets it on with servants directly. By God, that is disgusting. There was one case where a former retainer officially became his mistress. She had her little property too, and all that goes with it. But...
Whoa, what's going on with them?
But her former colleagues were so mad at her that they made her life a living hell.
Wow, like the reality is distorting for Kionna now?
What happened to her? She strangled her newborn and took her own life right after that. A terrible story. It seems to be that there are 3 or 4 mistresses in total. 3 or 4. Each time the lord acquires a small property, sends an army of retailers to ban it, and locks a new woman inside. It's almost compulsive. I've heard that they sometimes go on their tours, visiting all properties on the same day. I pity those girls for fingers nobody else, and he twisted in such a way as to make them believe he's doing them a favor. What an odd favor that is. Perhaps the little one from the Mord Boys told me too, a farmer whom Tali had promised the earth. He looked her up there and she couldn't stand it. She ran away after a few months. Most certainly the best possible decision. If he has so many mistresses, why is there still no heir to the throne? One of them had a miscarriage, another lost her baby to disease right during the early weeks, and the one I evoked earlier committed infanticide. It must be God's will. The king is punished for his infidelity. Maybe this one will not manage to give him a child either. Who knows? Maybe she's going to fail, but maybe she's going to win the jackpot too. Given that she's the newest mistress, he has completely abandoned the others for her. True that he can get bored of her in 10 times, but she still has time on her side. And if she manages to conceive a son who stays healthy for about 4 years, she's guaranteed to replace the queen sooner or later.
As she could not take any more, Kionna rushed to her bedroom and slammed the door as loudly as possible. She buried herself beneath her sheets with eyes filled with tears and sobbed for hours and hours, ashamed.
I've been ill-advised to put my trust in someone I knew so little about. How stupid I am for believing in us. Why am I always so unlucky? I merely want to do what is expected of me, getting married and becoming queen.
And who supposedly expects that? Except for you.
Should I really cling to that last hope and wait for long years before finally acceding to the throne?
Wanna bet she will not accede?
Do I even have the slightest certainty that he's not going to disappoint my expectations once again?
This time her pleas remained unanswered. At the same time, a few kilometers away, the carriage of Prince Tali was reaching his castle. Ooh. As he was crossing the threshold, a woman slightly older than Kionna bowed to welcome him. She cute.
Welcome back. Was your journey pleasant?
I'm drained and famished. Have a bath and a nice meal prepared for me.
This instant, my lord.
She dashed through the corridors to follow his instructions, and he barely shot her a glance. Oh yeah, it was a setup, that's true as well, so... That night the couple had dinner together in a crushing silence that had suddenly become all too familiar, each one at a different end of the table. Tali was carefully avoiding the young queen's gaze, as she was rather nervously staring at him. Bashfully she tried to inquire about his well-being.
How was your business trip?
Fine, fine.
Would you like to talk about it?
That will not be necessary, Seraphine. Everything's perfectly fine. There's no need to worry.
She was then dismissed and asked to go to bed under the pretext that he would join her shortly. The woman called Seraphine discreetly sighed as soon as she was sure that she was not watched.
Our relationship has not always been so cold and tense.
She had been his childhood friend when they were young. Oh. So it was not really that bad of a setup. Their parents would regularly see each other and they would spend their time playing together. And then the two families got down to business once they had become teenagers. She had been his fiancée, they had taken walks in the gardens, arm in arm, while he was reciting clumsy words of love to her, blushing at the same time. She had become his wife. He had sworn loud and clear that she was the most beautiful woman ever, and that he would never abandon her, even if the whole world was against her. But over the years, they had gradually grown apart and barely spoke to each other anymore. The sovereign now spent most of his time avoiding her under more or less sincere excuses, and she was suffering a lot as a result.
There is always some important matter that requires him to go somewhere when it is not a hunting party and he never wants to bring me with him. I've heard that he periodically goes to one of our secondary residences to rest. Why would he need to rest because of me? How he must hate me if he needs peace so much and would rather lie to keep me away from him.
Leaning in the dejected posture, she wiped away a few precious tears before putting a hand on her forehead.
If only I could give him children, perhaps he would take care of me.
Ooh. So that's why. What a bastard. The queen was not the only one to complain about the situation. Left alone in a banquet hall, the young king was looking at the tapestries on the walls without seeing them.
What should I do? It is becoming quite urgent for the king to obtain heirs, and my wife seemingly cannot give birth. Thus far, none of my mistresses has made this miracle happen, but the tide may finally be turning. If Lady Kionna were to give me son, it would be legitimate that I ask her to come to the castle. But I'm very fond of Seraphine, and I would feel uncomfortable repudiating her. Furthermore, her parents are likely to turn against me, and she may very well not be able to handle the separation either. She has always been fragile.
The indecisiveness of Prince Tali was hardly appeased by those thoughts, as he simply did not have the strength either to seal the fate of the unfortunate Seraphine and either to oppose Kionna. Just as he was not courageous enough to announce to his remaining mistresses that he had grown bored of them and not intend to see them again, even if he was still keeping them out of respect. Indecisive by nature, he had always avoided taking important decisions when it came to his love life and was now seeing the limits of his ways. He was in danger of having his back against the wall and being forced to choose a wife once and for all. This prospect was making him deeply uncomfortable, and he preferred to delay the inevitable.
And the resolution will be hasty after all. I not yet know if the unborn child is going to live. Let us wait and see how things progress. If Lady Kionna insists, then I will seriously think about it.
Maybe we'll find out in the next episode.
Oh, dude. I mean, Seraphine. She's... I feel sorry for her, overall. I guess if woman or basically a couple wants a child, but it's not possible because of either of the sides, it is a sad thing, yeah. And again, even if supposedly someone is not able to have a child, well, sometimes, things don't go their way and they have. You never know. Still, the fact that that freaking king technically was taking orders, not nice, man, not nice. Dude, never cheat on your woman. It's so ridiculous. Yeah, with that message being said, hope you all enjoyed, because we're ending the episode, of course. Consider liking, subscribing, always appreciate it, and I wish you all a wonderful day. Bye-bye!